Season 7, why did you waste my time? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We are here for the finale of Younger, the series finale. No more Younger after this. As per usual, we're just gonna go ahead and get started and get right into the episode because we got a lot to talk about. When the episode starts off, we see Liza and Charles in bed together. They spent the night together. As Liza is leaving Charles's house, we see that he got an email from Quinn, and we know that she is trying to send him the proposal for the incubator that she received in the last episode, and she sent it to him as a kind of like, look who you left me for, and like, you're gonna regret it. And he sees the proposal, but he chooses not to look at her email. But when he did that and he closed the email, I was like, the attachment says incubator. So even if you're like, I don't trust Quinn, I don't want to hear nothing she got to say, I would be like, why does that say incubator when that's the same app that I was supposed to start with Kelsey? I would open it. That didn't make sense because it clearly was labeled incubator PDF or something like that. I understand, like, she's just trying to get back at me for leaving her, but I would have opened that particular email since it clearly had an attachment that said incubator. But he chooses not to look at the email. When Liza gets home, she is bombarded with Maggie at the door. Maggie's like, where you been at? And she lets Maggie know that she actually spent the night with Charles and that they're, kind of trying again. And also, while Maggie is talking to Liza, she gets a call from the dean, and her and the dean are kind of cool. Now they squashed their beef, and her and the dean basically invites her out to dinner. And like she says, she wants to get the sculpture of her wife, her ex-wife, but she invites the dean out to dinner. So I was already like, are they trying to end the show with them two getting together? I was always kind of thinking that. I thought that the last episode, when the dean was kind of looking at her a certain way. And so this episode, the dean actually invites her out to dinner. And I was like, okay, they're going to end the show with Maggie in with the dean. I was pretty sure about that. Later at the Empirical office, Lauren lets Kelsey and Liza know that she ran into Max again, and she's thinking that she likes Max now. Charles invites them all to go to the Empirical centennial celebration. So then once Charles is in his office, he sees the email from Quinn again, and he looks like he might open it, but then he's interrupted again from opening it because Liza comes in and she lets him know that Azalea King, the author from that read her story at the incubator, is in their conference room to speak with them. So I'm like, eventually he's going to open his email and it's going to be a whole thing. For now, he still has not seen his email. They are in the meeting with Azalea. She is very interested. She wanted to go with Empirical because of the new publishing format that they've like kind of established with Incubator. And I still was thinking like, they should take this on their own. I don't think it should be a part of Empirical. Like, they really fleshed out this whole idea. They should not give their idea to this company. Everything that has to do with this app, the concept, the preliminary, everything they've done themselves with no help. They should not give it to him. That's what I think. Like, just for you, a future and a business that could grow, I would not give it to them. You should find people to invest in this app. So Kelsey goes to talk more with Azalea, and Redmond asks to speak with Liza and Charles. And I was like, why does he need to speak with Liza and Charles? That's why. And so he says he has an investment opportunity. His boyfriend wrote a musical, and he wants them to sit down and see the musical and to give their opinions on it so they could possibly invest in it. It was a little weird because Charles seemed like he was kind of open to the idea of investing in this musical. And I was like, you would invest in the musical from Redmond, who you do not have a close working relationship with or a personal relationship with, but Liza and Kelsey came to you with this incubator app at the very beginning, and you would not invest in them. They had to beg you and do all this stuff, and you gonna invest in Redmond from a vague description that he gave you of his boyfriend's musical, not even his musical, and you just want to invest in it, and they have to beg you to invest in their stuff. But with this, you're like, oh, looks like I'm investing in a musical. How? What? That doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. And this is just another little thing as to how they have destroyed Charles's character in season 7. It's literally like, they was like, season 7, we want to ruin him. Let's ruin him for season 7. That's what the writer said. I pictured the meeting in the writer's room right now, them be like, we want people to like every character except for Charles. When the beginning of the show, you really liked Charles. You really liked him. He was lovable. He was nice. He was sweet. He was kind, and literally he changed this whole season. A little bit of season 6 too, but mostly this season, just complete jerk. Finally, Liza and Kelsey have a moment to speak because earlier Kelsey tried to speak with Liza, but they got interrupted. So finally they have a moment to speak. They're like at lunch or something, and Kelsey tells her that Rob, Kelsey's boyfriend, friend with benefits, I don't know, that Rob sent out the evaluation for incubator, and that the app might actually be worth much more than they originally thought, and that it's worth much more than Charles offered them. Liza is kind of like thrown aback because they had like a handshake agreement with Charles, and she's like, well, you should give Charles a chance to like match it. But then Kelsey just kind of goes ahead and says, actually, working here, I kind of think we should just go off on our own. It's ours, which it is. We should just go off on our own and make something. This is like something that could be like the start of our career and can launch us. And I think it really could. She says, and I would think you would want to get away from your ex, not working with your ex. And I'm sure that's been hard for you. And Liza finally tells Kelsey that her and Charles got back together last night. But she says that Kelsey should definitely still do that, but she is going to stay at Empirical. She didn't want to ruin Charles's day because it is the centennial anniversary of... what's it called? Centennial anniversary for Empirical. So she says, just wait till after the centennial launch to tell him about this new development, to tell him that you're leaving. So Kelsey agrees to wait to tell Charles. Charles and Liza go to view Redmond's boyfriend's musical. They go to view the play, and the musical is basically about scammers in history, famous scammers. And so they had like one character play Bernie Madoff, and he sung a little song here. And then the last scammer that comes out is is a person that is depicting Liza and talking about how she scammed her way into the publishing industry, and she pretended to be 26, and and they're just sitting there flabbergasted, and the person just dances around and talking about how she's one of the biggest scammers, and she acts like she's all innocent, but she's not. She's a liar. And that scene, it lasted a good amount of time. It was a full number. There, like dumbstruck, like just completely shocked that this is happening, that somebody's on stage in a musical about scammers portraying Liza. So as they leave, Charles says after the play, he told Redmond that he would invest as long as they took the person that played Liza out of it, as long as they took Liza's role out of it, and you can just have the play about the other scammers. So Redmond agreed for the right price. But I mean, I think Younger could be made into a musical. I could see that. I could see a musical about Younger. That's another thing that Charles and Liza have been discussing this episode. They talked about how from now on there's no lies or any deceit type of things between them. And later that night, after the play, Charles finally does open the email from Quinn, and he sees the incubator proposal from Kelsey and Liza sent to other people, so he knows that they have shopped it around, and he seems kind of just like, he seems a little bit mad about it. And I would be mad too, in the sense that like, y'all haven't told me nothing. I've been hanging around with y'all all day. I've seen you guys several times. Nobody has said nothing. I just went out to a musical with you, Liza, and you ain't said nothing. We just agreed to be honest. Nobody has said nothing. Liza tells Maggie that she did something behind Charles's back. She submitted his unfinished story he wrote to like a writer's workshop, a really prestigious writer's workshop months ago, and he finally got in. She got notice that he got in, and so she's trying to figure out how to tell him. I'm worried that he would find that as another little lie, because again, nobody asked you to do that, and when you submitted it, that was when y'all wasn't talking, which is another reason Liza is kind of annoying sometimes. Y'all wasn't even friends then. You were still doing stuff. Like, I know that, like, oh, she's such a nice person. She cares so much. She's doing, but that could be annoying. Like, I told you to leave me alone. This was back when he told her to leave him alone, when she had to have submitted that. So it's also still a little annoying that she would have submitted it back then, because he did nothing this season to deserve any good things from her. Later at the office, Charles and Liza are getting up from like a meeting or something, and Liza's like, there's something I have to tell you. And he's like, see, my baby about to do the right thing. I knew she wasn't lying to me. I knew she wasn't going to keep no secrets from me. And she's like, I submitted your story to Yato, which is the writer's workshop, and you got in. And he's kind of like, oh, that's great. That's great. And he was kind of like, kind of looking like, is that all she had to tell me? Like, nothing else? You don't want to tell me about incubator? But she that's all she was going to tell him then. He kind of goes up to Kelsey and he's like, we need to, he's like, he trying to beat them at their own game. He's like, let's announce incubator at the Empirical party tonight. And Kelsey's like trying to hold him off, like trying to divert his attention and like get him off that, because she don't want to announce that, because she's still trying to figure out a way and when she's going to tell him that actually she's not going with Empirical, she's going out on her own. But he insists that they say it at the party tonight. And so he kind of forced their hand. Liza tells Kelsey she'll figure it out. She'll figure out how to stop him from doing that. Later at the party, before Liza and Charles come in, Liza finally does come clean to Charles about Kelsey leaving Empirical with Incubator, and she tells him that she plans on staying though, because Empirical is where she feels she belongs. So he seems a little upset, but not really. He seems like more resigned to it. But he's like, as long as you told me, I already knew it. As long as you told me the truth, that's all I want. And that's all he wants, is for her to be honest with him. He lets her know that I kind of already knew that you did that. And she's like, so was it a test? And he's like, I guess kind of, but it looks like you passed. And you could tell I was kind of feeling like Liza was kind of like, a test? Like, what kind of relationship is that where we testing each other? At the party as well, Rob and Kelsey are talking, and Rob lets Kelsey know about one of the offers that she has received, and it's like a super big one. It's like 3 to 4 times bigger than the offer that Charles made, and she's super excited. But then she's like reading over the fine print of the offer, and it says 20% to this company, and it turns out to be Rob's company. And he's like, yeah, you got those connections because of the connections that I have, and I deserve 20% because of my connections. And she kind of like tells him off, like, forget you and forget this deal. And she leaves him standing there. And so we basically they broke up, and she ain't going with that deal. She talks to Liza about the deal that Rob was trying to get her to make, and Liza's like, I'm sure Charles would still welcome you back. You could still be a part of Empirical. You don't have to do that now that you don't have any investors. It'll be no bad blood with Charles. He's not even upset. But when Kelsey goes up to the mic, and Liza kind of seems like, knows that she's doesn't have any investors, so she's gonna stay with Empirical. But Kelsey actually does end up saying goodbye to Empirical in her speech, and it was like a goodbye speech to Charles, and she thanked him for everything he's ever done for her and for hiring her when she was just an assistant, but she's going out on her own now. And so Charles is kind of like, I guess she did get those investors. Liza knows she didn't, but she knows that Kelsey is still going out on her own even without the backing. Lori got a message from Max to meet him in the cafeteria of his hospital. Yes, got a message to meet him in the cafeteria of his hospital, and she leaves the function to go to the hospital because she's trying to get her man back. But when she gets there, he basically tells her that he's living in his truth now, and introduces Lauren to his fiance, which is a man, and lets her know that this is who he is with now, a man. He was like, you was the first person to tell me to be my authentic self, to be true to who I am, and this is who I am, and I love this man. And at first she's kind of like, what? Because she wasn't expecting that. But then she's kind of like, are you guys open to me joining you? And they kind of look like, yes, they were open to it. I would say, no matter what, Lauren gets into some hijinks, okay? Even when it's like not what she expects, it still just happens. Maggie still went on this dinner with Dean Cass, and just like I thought, they end up kissing on the dinner. And I was like, I knew it was leading up to that. So at the end, like, they trying to get everybody with somebody, it seems like, at the end of this season finale or series finale. Later that night, after everything is said and done, Liza and Charles are laying in bed, and Charles is they're just sitting there kind of awkwardly laying next to each other. And Charles is like, would you have ever told me about you applying to the writer's workshop if I hadn't got in? And Liza's like, probably not, because why would she tell him when you didn't get in? What's the point of that? But also, she shouldn't have applied for him, but whatever. But she says probably not. And then they kind of sit there awkwardly thinking silently to each other. She says, we're not going to make it, are we? And Charles kind of is like, no, we're not. And then they embrace and hold each other for the rest of the night. And so that's their kind of conclusion. They break up. And this is where you wasted my time. I'm gonna finish the recap, and then we're gonna get to it. Okay. Then we go to the next day, and Kelsey has moved back into the apartment, and she's talking about how she has to share a bed with Lauren again. Well, Josh is like, you can have my room, because he was planning on moving out, because he put an offer in to actually buy the entire building. Because Inkberg is in the building, his apartment is in that building, and there are other apartments in the building. So he has put in an offer to buy the entire building from the landlord. And he actually does offer Kelsey for him to actually use that money. Instead of buying the building, he could invest in her company. But she says, no, I'm going to figure out a different way. This is your dream, and she's going to figure it out for her dream. But she can stay in his apartment, her and Lauren share, and he can get a different apartment in the building that he now is going to own. Then we go to the Empirical office, and Charles calls Liza into a meeting, and Liza is like ready and waiting for Charles to ask her to leave, because they're officially broken up again. And she was going to offer her resignation, but Charles says like he is going to take the writer's workshop at Yaddo for however long the writer's workshop lasts, weeks or a couple months. He says he's going to need someone to run Empirical, and he offers it to Liza. And I was like, really? You offer it to Liza? So he offers it to Liza for her to run Empirical while he's gone. She's going to have a whole new title, and she will be in charge of the company. I'm sure even once he comes back, I think that would elevate her to a higher position as well. So Liza will be running Empirical, and Charles is absent. Later at the bar, we get a kind of like wrap up of the happy endings for everyone. Lauren is dating, Max. Lauren is dating Max and his fiance, both. And then Maggie says she's in a relationship or with Cass, and she talks about love. She loves Cass, and I was like, you love her? Okay. I'm going to let it slide. She says she loves Cass. She mentions love. She don't say she loves Cass, but she said she mentions love. And then Kelsey mentions to them she got an offer for incubator from Reese Witherspoon's company that they worked with previously. But the catch is she has to move to LA. So she will be moving in about a week. And so everybody's like, oh my goodness, that's because it came out of nowhere. And then Liza is the new editor-in-chief of Empirical. So go ahead, Liza. So it has their little happily ever after. So then after everyone's announcements, Liza goes to get a round of drinks for everybody, and she goes up to the bar, and literally they reenacted the scene from episode 1 of Younger, where she's at the bar and the bartender is ignoring her, doesn't see her, and so she takes off her shoe trying to flag him down, and then Josh comes up and he's like, you never wave a shoe. You never wave a shoe. And they like literally almost word for word, they reenact the scene from where they first met in episode 1. After Josh comes to the bar, they do their whole little spiel. She asks him where has he been. She didn't see him there. And he says, I've been right here by your side all along. Like when he says that, I've been right here by your side all along, she looks at him like like that. And then they get to talking, I guess kind of flirting, and then the camera kind of pans out on them just looking at each other, and then it goes off. And that is the end of the episode, the end of the season, the end of the series. So my thoughts. Number 1, this season out of all the seasons of Younger was the worst season. And not to say there weren't some parts that, oh, that was a nice scene or this was a cool scene, but I literally rewatch Younger all the time. Like every now and again, I'll put on season 1, put on season 2, put on season 3. I cannot ever see myself rewatching season 7. I just can't see it. So let's get to the big thing. This whole season, they had Liza getting together with Charles, losing Charles, chasing after Charles, being like a kind of like puppy dog for Charles, getting in his business, and then you break them up, and then you want to leave us with the implied Josh ending. Why wouldn't you have this season be about her getting with Josh? Because it just doesn't make any sense. It seems like they realized that the main fan base of Younger wants her with Josh, and they were just like, give them Josh. They want him so bad, give them Josh. And so they just gave it to us, just like threw it, didn't put no thought behind it, just threw it in there like an extra scene at the end, like the season was finished. And then they was like, let's film this one last scene just to make them shut up. But like, if your whole fan base is rooting for Josh, just why wouldn't you do it? Like, make this season about them. You wasted a whole you wasted the 7th season. Literally, you wasted the 7th season. How did season 6 end? Because that probably should have been the ending. Because this season was just, I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Literally, I've seen watch a lot of shows, and this was like one of the worst season finales. At least it had an ending, kind of, but it just, I don't know. That is the major storyline that I tune in for, the Josh Charles Liza thing. And for them to do that, it really was like it was just felt like they didn't care about the audience for them to even do that. That's what it felt like. I saw a meme that compared this to the terrible ending of Game of Thrones, and someone said this is just as bad as the ending of Game of Thrones. And that is just beyond me, that they can make people think that this is as bad as the ending of Game of Thrones. I can't. I mean, let me rewrite history for you, because literally what I thought was going to happen, I wrote an ending in my head at the beginning of this season. Not wrote it, but in my head I was like, this would be the perfect ending. Like, she told Charles no, she won't marry him because she doesn't want to get married again, blah, blah, blah. But then I was like, what if Josh proposed to her and she said yes? Then it was a couple episodes about Charles being rude to her and acting like a jerk to her, and she was kind of like, what's your problem? And he was like, you got back with Josh and you're getting married now when you told me you wouldn't marry me. And it was kind of like, because then I thought I was in love, but Josh, I really love him, and so that's why I want to get married now. That would have been perfect, because she didn't want to get married with Charles, but when Josh asked her, she does want to get married. I was like, that'd be a good ending. And then it didn't happen, but that's what I thought. So I thought that something like that would happen. I want her with Josh, but I think it should have been happening progressively throughout the season, not the progression of her and Charles' relationship. And then the No Diana this season, it was just, this season was a wash. They should have just, no, they needed to do it again. I want a do-over of this season. I'm hoping that maybe in a couple years, some diligent fans will get together, do a Kickstarter or something. I don't know if that's still a thing, and make a movie. Do a Younger movie on Lifetime or TV Land, Paramount Plus. It needs to be redone, because the ending, I want to see her actually be with Josh, not an implied ending. I want her with Josh. I guess they gave that to us. Thank you for the crumbs. I guess they're like, take what you can get, okay? Because that was not what we originally had planned. So take it or leave it. And but yeah, hopefully, maybe like I said, in a few years, maybe somebody will be like, I miss Younger so much, and make a movie to wrap it all up, like they're doing with like they did with Veronica Mars, or things that are coming back, like Dexter, things like that. So that's what I'm hoping, keep hope alive. But that is my review on season 7 of Younger. Leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think. Still Team Josh. I'm still going to rewatch seasons 1 through 6. Here and there, Never season 7. Once again, thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for watching my video. Please like and subscribe. We're going to start doing new shows here, and I'm going to create more of a consistent schedule to get on to give you guys these reviews. Also, in the comments down below, tell me of different shows that you guys watch that you would like to hear my reviews on. Well, I'm about to start my lineup of reviews to do. So leave those suggestions down below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on my next video.